How's it going, the Intertubes? This is Zachamus Prime, aka Zachamus Prime, bringing you another Transformers third-party review. This review is brought to you by titanonetoys. I bought this from titanonetoys because they are awesome and they gave great service on my purchase. So I'm just gonna stick that right there so everybody knows. But the figure that I'm reviewing today is going to be the Zeta Toys Airstrike, the not Air Raid, because I can't imagine why anybody would think that this is Air Raid. No, this is definitely Airstrike. Airstrike is a robot who turns into a part of another robot. And yeah, I mean, shoot, we all know what he does. But he is a really nice figure. So of course, Devastator is my favorite combiner. Why not? So I picked up the Toy World Constructor because, oh my gosh, it was flipping amazing. And it is amazing. It is one of the best purchases I think I've ever made. But due to my love of airplanes, like, this is a fairly close second. And so when I saw that they're coming out with these and they're like masterpiece scale and huge, and given the success that I've seen with their that I'd seen with the Toy World Devastator, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have this. So yeah, I got it, and it's super nice actually. But this figure, so if you've been following my channel for long, then you probably already saw my reviews of the Zeta Toys Combaticons. If you haven't been following my channel for long, then go check it out. It's a pretty decent rundown of the various Combaticons. One of them was basically like practically my first review ever. And parts of it kind of suck. But you know what? Go check it out anyhow. Why not? I'm not afraid to suck. But yeah, so this figure just looks great. It just looks like it just pops right off of the cartoon, you know? Maybe without these wings on the legs. They are just simply pegged on. You can remove them if you wish. I like to have them on here just for, you know, transformation and continuity's sake. But if you're just displaying it, you may want to take them off. There's some nice little tampograph details. Man, like, there are just so many tampograph details all over these suckers. Super, super loving it. But you know, he's molded in I like how his jet mode is predominantly black, but his robot mode is predominantly white and red. He's got some silver paint on his chest here, on his legs, on his face. One of the 11th hour changes they made to this figure is they painted the eyes. This little visor here. Toy World / Zeta Toys is pretty famous / notorious for having light piped eyes. And I don't know, light piping is one of those things that when it works out, like, it looks really, really good. But when it doesn't work, which is by the way, more often than not, then it doesn't look all that good at all. And you know, as a result, some of their figures end up looking really good and some of them don't. So, but yeah, I mean, this is not a perfect figure. There's some things about it that I don't particularly care for. There's some things about it that I've had some minor issue with, but all in all, I think that this is a really great figure. And I think it's definitely worth like $60 or whatnot. In terms of cosmetic things, you may notice that there are highly visible sprue marks. There's ones here on the shoulders. There's ones here on the forearm. You can just see them in places, and they kind of sneak up on you. And once you notice them, you're like, oh my gosh, really? But I don't know. I mean, I've been building Gundam models since I was, a kid. So, I mean, I am good at overlooking sprue marks. But if you feel that sprue marks is something that is an abomination on your Masterpiece style figures, then you may be a little bit irked with that. One of the other 11th hour changes that they made to this figure is they changed out the he had hands that were basically the same sort of concept as I want to say they were either like the newer Zeta Toys Combaticons hands, or they were like the older Constructicon hands. In that the fingers were like each finger was on a joint and they moved around, but each finger was a solid piece. Now they've got them so that each finger is pinned on, and then they have a single joint on them. So that may strike your fancy, that may not. I don't know. Your mileage will vary. I can say that one of the things I don't like about that is that all of the fingers are exactly the same length, which if you've ever looked at a hand, I mean, most of us have got two of them, you'll notice that your fingers are all different lengths. Another thing that I've never really been super keen on playing with this figure is that this pin across here is fairly tight, but this joint here is fairly not tight, and that's the part that you got to grab to pull it out. So like it's kind of stressful to grab it and pull it out when you're going from fist mode in the jet mode to extend it out for the robot mode. So what else? I think that's just basically about it. The paint apps on this are nice and crisp. Haven't had any problems with that. On these high contour areas, you get a little bit of tampo deformation, but that's kind of expected of tampographs when you're putting in them on a high contour area, because it's basically like a rubber stamp, and it stamps on your ink, and then it stamps on here, and and that's how it works. But I think that they're really crisp. There's also really good paint apps on here, like in addition to tampograph details, there's like these paint apps that are underneath the plastic, silver detail on the inside here. It's just really nice all around. I don't know that it necessarily feels like, I mean, if this was $100 the way the individual Constructicons were, I don't know if I'd feel like I was getting my money's worth out of it. I mean, I'd probably still go for it because Superion really is what we're all going for. But I may not have felt like I got my money's worth out of it. But yeah, that's just me. In terms of accessories, he's got this is the one gun. It plugs into his fist via the slot system, and it's kind of a tenuous grasp at best. Like you gotta kind of like get his hand open and like really push it in there, and then kind of like carefully hold it in place as you curl his fingers around it, because his fingers don't hold it, but the peg doesn't really want to hold it either. So like I mean, on the Combaticon hands, I liked that they had the little half circle in there, and they held their weapons really well, and that was something that I liked about it. But I don't know, c'est la vie. This guy's gonna spend most of his time as a leg anyhow, so probably spend most of his time as a leg, and then spend most of the rest of that time as a jet and robot mode, maybe at least until I get them all together. Maybe he'll spend most of his time as in a robot until I get them all, because honestly, robot takes up less square footage on the old shelf. But in terms of posability, his head is on a ball joint, which can just do all sorts of stuff that you want it to do. His arms will go all the way out. He can assume the full tree pose. His arms have got an elbow. Elbow goes 90 degrees, basically exactly like it was designed like that or something. There's an upper bicep swivel, allows it to move all around. There's a wrist joint here. It's hard to access because he's got this big like thing on the back of his hand, and not only is it hard to make use of it, but it's hard to get much range out of it because there's a big thing there. But I don't know, you do what you can. He does actually have a waist joint, which is nice. I like that they, despite the way his transformation works, they designed that in. I also really love that, I mean, his chest is basically a hollow box. And some people are going to complain. I've seen complaints on the internet that, oh, well, the aerial bots are not nearly as heavy as the Combaticons are. But, you know, you can't. I really feel like you can't really gauge quality by weight, especially when you're dealing with a completely new design. I mean, comparing the aerial bots to the Combaticons is, you know, like comparing apples to oranges, you know, or maybe apples to pears might be a little bit closer. I mean, if you're comparing, say, like Masterpiece Megatron with a bootleg Masterpiece Megatron, then you look at the weight because they're the exact same design, more or less, you know, and one of them may have less die cast or it may have a different grade of plastic or whatnot, and that's useful information to pull out of that. But if you're just comparing, oh, well, this guy weighs this much and Vortex weighs this much, and gosh, but you also got to realize that Vortex is chunky as all hell, and this guy is like sleek. I mean, sure, he's got this thing here, but I mean, you don't see that in the show, but you can just pull this off. This is completely part of the design of the figure, you know, even back to the G1 days and in the show and whatnot, you know, that's meant to be there. Yes, that is technically plain kibble, but it is part of the character design. But he's not, you know, like completely enshrouded with kibbly parts the way the Combaticons are, you know? And so, I mean, I'm super impressed by these figures. He's got skirt armor that will move up out of the way. His leg will go basically all the way forwards. It'll go part of the way back before it hits into this. It will go out. Do, gosh, like 105% Van Damme. Let me get the other arm out of the way so we can get that full 105% Van Damme appreciation. God damn it. Van Damme it. Yeah, nice little soft ratchet there. He does have a rotation up here at the upper thigh, right at his hip section, which is a good rotation. Nice little soft ratchet here again, about 90 degree rotation there. Let me pull this off just for good for this 90 degree rotation. He does have a ball joint. It's actually, so you have, this is on a hinge and there's another hinge way up there. But all in all, it's basically on a ball joint and it's quite articulate. The bottom of the foot is basically in line with the back of this, so you don't get a lot of usefulness out of the articulation this way, but you get a fair amount of it tilting forward. And it stands well, you know, despite having, you know, a half to a third of a jet, depending on how you define your jet proportions. You know, he doesn't really have any problem standing. I mean, like he'll fall back on, I mean, if you've got him kind of close and he wants to go back, like he'll rest right here and not topple over, you know, like, I mean, whether that's intentional or incidental, it's a good design and it looks good. It looks great. This guy looks so great in person. Just the pictures don't really do it justice. But let's get him transformed up. So the first thing we're going to do, you can take these off, and I'm going to take one off, and I'm going to leave one on so that you can see that it can be done with them off, and you can also see that it might be a little bit easier to do it with them Sorry, you can do it with them on, but it might be a little bit easier with them off. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put his arms in the tree pose here. These panels will open up and we'll accordion this down. Curl his hand into a fist, put his thumb down like that, and then close that up. This slot right here is going to go right over this tab, right there. And that's one half of that. Again, with the other arm, put the thumb in, curl up le fist, like so. Open this panel up, fold that up, accordion that in, close it back down, engage that tab. We're going to pull out his head, expose all this wonderful empty space in here. This panel right here is all one panel. There's a hinge right here that you can see. You're just going to kind of pinch this, and using your finger in here and out here, you're going to pull this up. And so this panel is going to basically be straight up, and then you're going to notice that this panel is going to curve out like so. Because if it doesn't curve out, where's his head going to go? We're going to do the same for the other side. And let's fold his head in now. Fold that all the way around. There's another slot right here on the front of his neck piece. And I'll engage this tab here. Engage it quite solidly, actually. And then we're going to flip these up. There's a slot right here that this tab right here will fit into. And that will keep that all together. I am turning him straight into his combined mode. I know I kind of skipped that with the last combiner I did, but you know, I wanted to get that all back together. I wanted to run that through, especially since it's like 90% of the way to his alt mode. So folded up his foot. This is going to slide down basically Combiner War style, and then this right here was in this position. It's going to come up like that and peg into all that. At this point here, we are going to, there's another thing I didn't like about this, but I'll show you in a bit. This framework right here has got a hole right here, and there's a little peg right there. And this peg is going to go into that hole. And we're going to leave that there for now. Let's transform this other leg, get it into position. This is the one that I've got the wing on, because why not? So we're going to fold up the foot. The foot is going to go in like so. And then we're going to fold the leg up and in. In this position, I don't know if you really notice it. I don't know if you can really see, but right there is actually the landing gear. And that landing gear does not like this leg. They get in the way. So if you pull this panel out just a little bit, that's even too much, just a little bit, that'll give it all the clearance it needs. But I mean, if you straighten this part out all the way, that pushes that landing gear back in. So there's a balance that you're going to need to achieve. There are two pegs on the inside of this legs. They will peg together. Then this will peg into each other. Don't forget to the back of the panel will peg into the leg, and this will peg into that strut as well. And then we're going into combined mode. So we're going to open up this right here. We're going to tuck the nose in. We're going to tuck the nose in past the landing gear. There's this landing gear in here that is a complete twat. Just a complete pain in the ass. In fact, I'll show you what I do with the landing gear. You're going to like this, or you're going to hate it. I don't know. One or the other, your choice. Right. So it was in this position for robot mode. We're going to fold it down into this position right here. The leg, this part will plug into that. Make sure all this is tabbed together because it looks like it's starting to come untabbed a bit. Oh, come on, stay tabbed in. Yeah, I'm getting kind of a tab disaster right now. None of my tabs are wanting to stay in place. There we go. All right, so get that in place, pull that together, put this wing back on. Oh, and last but not least, this is more superficial than anything else. These will slide up and tab into the skirt armors. They tab in tenuously at best. And there is basically the combined mode. I know that the official pictures have got the wings facing straight back like that. Maybe that's what you prefer. Maybe you prefer to have them forwards like that. I don't know. I'm going to put them back like that because that's the official mode that we saw of the grayscale render that we've seen so far of the whole combined. Yeah, and so he is basically a box. He's going to turn into a leg right here. These slots that are what this was the top of the shoulder. This is going to be how it's going to. The leg is going to come in here, probably slot into here, possibly these ones as well. And then there's going to be panels that are going to snap into those. And that's going to keep it on the upper knee here. Down here, I'm not sure exactly where the stuff is. I can tell you that there are holes right there in the bottom of the feet. Those are probably going to see some use. And these look like tabs. If you zoom in real well, you'll notice that they are more rounded on this edge than they are on the back edge. And so this is probably something where something will clip into here and fold around and clip into that. So that's also a painted part, so expect to see a little bit of wear in that paint, maybe. I don't know. Still a bit of speculation. Maybe if I examine the combined mode render in more detail, I'll get more information off of that. I really do like that they have basically the combiner parts be an extra thing like they did with Devastator. I think that makes for a much better robot mode of the combiner. And it makes for much cleaner, more streamlined individual robot modes for the figures. So now from here, to get them back into the jet mode, we're going to open this up, pull the nose cone back out. This is the part of this that I like the absolute least because we have to deal with the landing gear. This landing gear is a dick. It's just a jerk. It hates you, it hates me, it hates everybody. It hates life itself. It's got a spring in here, right? Because somebody was like, man, you know what would make the landing gear totally awesome? If it had a spring. And thus the spawn of Satan was born. So it's sprung in there and it's forcing in there and there's no real good way to grip on it. And because this doesn't want to open any more than that, there's no real good way to push on that. And it's just a pain in the boot hay. Because it doesn't want to turn, it doesn't want to rotate, it doesn't want to do anything. There we go. Wait, I think I got it. Maybe. Nope. There we go. And so you have to, oh, come on. There we go. So you have to pull this out, all the way out. Because you have to get this strut past the landing gear door. And the only way to do that is with the landing gear open. So put that into here. This will clip in and then slide down and lock that into place. Before you put it in, you can, before you put this all into place, you can, at this point, when it's in this position, then open this back up and flip this back around and then goes in like up against there, and it is a complete pain in the ass once again. Like, this landing gear hates you, it hates me, it hates everyone, it hates all of mankind. It's a hateful landing gear. But I'm not going to put it in because I don't want to deal with that frustration. My life ain't about that. These panels right here will fold out, peg in. There's a little peg right here. There is, this tab doesn't, it seems to be a little wonky now too. Jeez. You know, you transform it like a half dozen times and it all works perfectly. And then you turn on the camera and everything just doesn't work. There's yet another of Zeta Toys' infamous dovetail pegs. So this will not peg straight in. It will only come down from the top. Keep that in mind. You do not want to wreck your toy. Certainly don't want to wreck any part of it. So those will peg in. This will come down and peg into there. This panel right here will fold in. And there we go. You can take these doors, you can fold them out. There's a landing gear in there. These landing gear do not hate life. They're actually kind of friendly. And there he is in his vehicle mode. Yeah. It's big, it's beautiful. This is almost exactly the same size as Masterpiece Starscream. I measured the length is actually slightly shorter than Masterpiece Starscream, partly because they've shortened the nose proportionately. The wingspan is actually a little bit wider than Masterpiece Starscream for reasons unknown. So I don't know. But yeah, he's great. I mean, yes, he is. The robot turns into a box and just hangs from the underside of the jet. And that is kind of how the aerial bots have always been. But yeah, in terms of, this gun has got little pegs on it. And the pegs don't really do anything. Like, I think you can plug it in to one of these if you want to put it on the underside of the wing. That might be your thing. If he had two of them, that might look really cool. But he's only got one. So yeah. There's a hole right here with a little spring-loaded cover in it. And you can plug it into that if you want. But it's like super low slung, and it looks kind of dumb. So I'm about 100% convinced that this is really only for if there's some sort of a stand. But I don't know of any stands that have like a 5mm peg on them. Maybe one of the future releases will come with one. I don't know. Little wheels roll. There's really not much else to it. It's got an opening cockpit, so you can see the details in there. And that's basically it for this. Now he does have, if you want to arm him up a bit, he's got these little things here that you can stick on the underside of the wing. And then you can take a missile. He comes with 4 missiles. He comes with 2 of these armatures and 4 missiles in total. So you can arm him up with 4 missiles, and we'll arm him up. We'll arm him up all the way. Why not? These don't serve any real function in the robot mode, because the only place to peg them in is on the wings, and the wings get folded up. Actually, the wings generally will fold in this way. Yeah, generally will fold in, I don't know. They fold up in a way that it doesn't really seem all that great of an idea to use them there. So we'll have them be a little bit off center. But yeah, I mean, this landing gear is a dick. In fact, what I like to do is just take this and remove that landing gear completely. Get this out of my life. I don't need that. I don't need that kind of hatred in my life. And now the whole thing works a whole lot better. It's easier to transform without that gear in place. it's easier to just everything without that gear in place. I mean, sure, it's not easier to display, but you know, what you can do with that is just basically fold that in. And this jet, as it sits, is fairly high off the ground and fairly level. So, you know, whatevs. Or you can get one of those like Macross style 3-peg stands and 3-peg it, you know. That would be cool too. Maybe it'd be a little nice if it had flaps, but that's kind of more of a, I don't know. There's no real point on here. But yeah, that is Airstrike. He is really cool. I am really looking forward to the rest of these aerial bots. Not aerial bots. These Zeta toys, Kronos figures. I think they're great. I think this is a great start. I don't know. I don't know why we started with ZB02 instead of ZB01. But somebody made a command decision somewhere, and we're just gonna go with it. So yeah, just looking forward to the next release, which hopefully should be pretty soon. Some people are getting review copies of both figures simultaneously, so they are roughly in step with each other in the design and production process. So yeah. But anyhow, this is Zachmas Prime signing off. You guys are awesome. Thank you for watching, and be good to each other. I'll see you later.